Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 24 of Everyday Inspiring Women. I'm your host, Jessica Burrell, and I am so super excited to have my friend, Cassandra Aarssen from Clutterbug here today to talk about her story and really dig into what she does for self-care, what's next for her. And I'm really excited. We chatted a little bit before the episode, before we started recording. And I think she's excited to share her story because she's obviously, her zone of genius is around organizing and cleaning, and she kicks ass at doing all of that. And I learned so much from her. So I can't wait to hear more of the personal side, a little more of her personal story. So, which is our jam here on Everyday Inspiring Women is, tell me all about your vulnerable bits, the stuff we don't want to talk about. But here we are talking about it anyway. Cassandra and I met, I'm pretty sure it was about in January of this year. I run a local group called Tribe, and she heard of us and came out to one of our meetups, and we've kind of been connected ever since then. So welcome, Cassandra. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's exciting.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you here. So that was just a brief intro, but I love when my guest shares more of who she is, what she does, and then kind of jumps into the story so we can get to know you a little bit better.
Awesome. Yeah, I am a stay-at-home mom to 3 little ones, and 11, 9, and 5. And I also run an organizing business, obviously. I don't actually organize people's homes anymore, just online, giving advice and tips and tricks on a YouTube channel, and started writing some books. Let me tell you, it's all pretty crazy to me still. I know it isn't even new, but I still feel like, I don't know, I'm not worthy. But yeah, so currently I have over 500,000 people who follow just my organizing advice, and I try to give almost everything for free and just try to help other moms who were struggling like I was, because I was drowning. I was drowning in this horrible rat race wheel thing, and organization is what pulled me out.
I love the way you say that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Want me to share my crazy story with you?
It's like I'm on the edge of my seat, literally.
That's crazy, right? Okay, so my parents are hardworking people, and they're amazing, but they would go to work every day. They go to work, and they come home, and it was like laundry and yard work and cleaning the pool or chopping wood. It was like constant work. And on the weekends, there was work to do, whether it was housework and I remember as a teenager just thinking, like, is this what a grown-up is like? This looks like horribleness.
Yeah, no thanks.
No freaking thanks. They were not happy. They never did fun things. And even the fun things we did, like a vacation, seemed like they were so stressed and it was so much work to pack and plan. And I was like, this is not the life I want. So I was 15 years old and I ran away. I left. And it wasn't even, there was no crazy situation. They were wonderful parents. I just was stubborn and teenage angst, hormonal, whatever. I was like, I do not want this life. I remember saying to my dad, I'm going to be an artist in Toronto with a pea-stained couch, just like, whatever. And I was like, I don't know. Anyways, so I left, and I just went from like friends' couches to friend couches, teen homeless shelters. I met other homeless teens, and we just started, we were sleeping in tents and continued this crazy lifestyle until I was almost 20. I didn't go home. I just, and it was like a squeegee kid, it wasn't like, through the blessing of kind strangers and great programs, I was able to live this life. And I thought in my brain that this was freedom because I didn't want to be an adult. I didn't want to end up like my parents. So I chose this other really negative, and it was, just an unhealthy, situation that was not healthy. So when I was just about 20, I decided I didn't want to live this way anymore. I was tired of being hungry. I was tired of being homeless. I was tired of being dirty. I was tired of feeling bad about the poor choices I was making. And so I was going to get a job. and an apartment, and I did. And I worked hard to pull myself up out of the gutter. And a couple of years later, I met an amazing guy who was like an engineering student in university, as straight and narrow as you can get, is the opposite of me in every way. And we got married, and we bought a house, and we bought a minivan, and we had a baby. And then we had another baby, and I decided I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And I tried a bunch of businesses because we needed the money. I started doing daycare. And then one day I woke up and realized that I was my parents, because I was just working constantly. I had 9 kids at one point in this daycare, and I would get up in the morning and I would be working all day and just rushing around, and then rushing to get dinner made for the kids after the daycare kids were gone, and then cleaning and laundry, and weekends were just like picking up toys, and I could never find anything. And I was like, I'm failing at being an adult. And I was crying constantly, and I was just rushed and hectic, and I loved my family, but I craved that freedom again. And so I remember sitting on the couch. I'll never forget it. I was sitting on the couch, and all the kids were like climbing on me, and I had babies, and I'm filthy, and I'm just like, oh, my life, And I was trying so hard, and I was watching this show, Peter Walsh. She had a TLC show called Clean Sweep, and I was
Yes.
watching. Did you watch that show
Yes.
ever?
Yeah.
So I was watching this show, and his words sunk into me, just saying like, getting organized and having less is going to give you less stress. And just, you could take a breath, and your home can be not a place of work, but a place of like refuge. And that's when I made the decision. I don't need to run away and live in a tent. I needed to deal with the crazy. So I started trying to get organized and failing. And I would organize something, and it would stay messy for like clean for like a day, and then get messy again. And I felt, why can't I do this? And then one day I went to the dollar store, and I got a bunch of dish pans, and I came home to my closet, and I took everything out, and I put these dish pans in my closet on the shelves, and I threw my clothes into the dish pans and labeled, like one for pants, one for bathing suits, one for pajamas. And the next day it stayed like that. And then when I went to put away laundry, I didn't even fold, okay? I just opened it up, and I tossed everything into these bins. And it was like a light bulb moment. When I got ready in the morning, I didn't have to pick through and do the sniff test, dirty clothes on the floor. I knew where everything was. And so I started replicating that all throughout my house. This quick, easy, like toss bin system, purging, having less, but organizing them not the way I thought you were supposed to organize, with everything being really like perfect, but just quick and easy, that I could manage while running a daycare with 9 kids. And I started videoing this on my phone. I was so excited about this closet with some dish pans. I started videoing it on my phone, and I posted it to YouTube. And I just kept posting to YouTube, and I didn't know how YouTube worked. And then one day my husband said, you have like 5,000 followers. And it was like, wow, I do. People are watching me, bad videos, like shaky. People are like, please get a tripod. I feel like I'm going to vomit. Bad videos, just sharing my enthusiasm about the life-changing, what was happening to my life with organization. And it grew from there. I didn't even think you could make money doing something like this. And then before I knew it, it grew. I was making more than I was doing daycare, and I could focus on this as a full-time, part full-time, but career, just talking and sharing and trying to help other people who felt as a disaster that I felt. And I think the biggest thing for me was schedules and routines and structure. And I had always resisted that because I thought that was conformity. And I'm like some hippie I'm free, and I didn't want to conform. But it wasn't about conformity. That's freedom. Because, I'm not gonna cry, but like, I have so much more time to dedicate to things I love. I don't have to worry about losing things, or, do you know what I'm saying? I don't have to like stress about, oh my God, I'm horrible an adult and I'm a bad mom, because my life just like flows. And that's organization. It just like, it was life changing. So I'm ridiculous.
No,
So
just let it flow. Don't stop it. I was just, I'll just chat for a little second. It's interesting because I can relate so much to this, because it's like we have this ingrained idea of what adulting is supposed to be or should be. And it's like the second we don't conform to those norms for whatever reason, we think there's something inherently wrong with us. We don't question the system. We don't say there's something wrong with the system or something wrong with society is telling us that we're supposed to adult or parent in a specific way. We just automatically go, what's wrong with me? Why can't I fit my round peg into this square hole? And we don't even go, what the hell? Screw that. That hole should be round instead. And I can, instead of me trying to fit into that, how can I make it work for me in a way that feels good for me? Because I'm not in the wrong here. Society's in the wrong for trying to tell me I have to be a certain way. So yes, keep going. Yeah. Totally. I'm on board.
Yeah. So anyways, it just, it was life-changing for me. Just simplifying my life. That's what it really came down to. It was like, man, I was overcomplicating everything, trying to do everything and wasting so much time, just like a chicken with my head cut off on a wheel, And it wasn't until I sort of, just started making things easier. It wasn't about what it looked like. It wasn't about perfection. It was about like, how can I streamline my life to get as much done or more, but in way less time? And that's exactly what it was for me. That's exactly what all these little tips and tricks, and it's been a lot of failure, a lot of trying, but every time I come across something that's working, I want to share it. I'm like, this is amazing. You guys got to try this too. And then I started realizing, like, just because it worked for me didn't mean that it would work for someone else. And then so I'm like, this is fascinating. And so I started writing it all down, and I realized there was like 4 distinct organizing styles that literally everyone fits into one of these categories pretty much. And when I met someone and talked for them a little while, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're a butterfly, and this is why you're struggling, and this is what you could do to help. And so it's grown into this like amazingly cool business where I get to meet other moms like me who are just, they feel like they suck at this. They're crappy anyway, so why bother? And their life is just this rat race on this wheel, and they're just, and I can give them a way to simplify and make it easier. And so I didn't want to charge for anything. And still, it just became this organic way that I was able to start earning money without having to charge for services. And so I'm just so blessed. I really, really am.
So you're saying you made some mistakes. Just, is there something in particular you remember that was like, oh God, a bit of a mistake that you really had a good lesson from?
Yeah. I remember trying to just overcomplicate things. So I bought this freedom filer from the internet that everyone was raving about. And it's this really crazy paper filing system. And then every year you like switch the tabs to a different color, and it's all color coded and it's in alphabetical order. And apparently it was great. And so I bought it and I put it together and I filed all my papers. And I remember bawling over this thing, like just sobs, because my papers were all just in a pile beside it. Because I'm like, why can't I do this? Why can't I just take the time to do it? But that's not me. I need one basket that says 2018 bills that I chuck everything in. You know what I mean? And I need to give myself permission to do that. And guess what? That's organized. I know where everything is. It's in chronological order because I put January in, then I put February on top, then I put March on top. You know what I mean? So This whole time I'm overcomplicating things and then feeling like a failure when I couldn't do it. So that was a light bulb for me, just trying and failing things and realizing simplicity is the key, and it's okay to take shortcuts in life. It's okay to work smarter, not harder. It doesn't mean that you're lazy. It means you're brilliant. You're freaking brilliant. So I want to encourage other people, but you know what? There are people like there's crickets and bees out there who they crave that level of detail and organization. So let your freak flag fly, people. If you're a perfectionist and you're a detailed person, own that too, and work with your strengths instead of your weaknesses. So that's what I'm able to do for people, is hold up a mirror and say, like, this is your strength. This is the type of thing that's going to work for you. And who cares if that other stuff doesn't?
I think that's brilliant. And it's like, I'm sure no one else can relate to that feeling of failure when you're going like, okay, this is going to solve all of my problems in organizing, this bin or this thing's going to solve all my problems. And then you can't even make it work. And then you're like, again, that whole, what's wrong with me? And that's awesome. I think that's such a good point. And then, so once people know what their organizing style is, you talk specifics in terms of how to help them become, more fluid and organized. Yeah.
Yeah. And I try to help, like, the perfectionists out there. Sometimes they're just paralyzed by their own perfection. So I just try to give them confidence, in themselves, and show them that it's okay to not be perfect, and you're probably going to fail, but that's what's going to make you better. And so I feel like I'm just like a cheerleader. It's nothing that I'm telling them is really new or revolutionary. It isn't. I'm just, telling them they're not alone, and they don't have to be like this forever, and it's not their fault, and they just need to get back up and try again, trying something that's going to work for them, instead of constantly trying things that aren't. So I tell them different things that will work for their style, and then just try to give them the confidence to go with it.
That's awesome. I love that. So, like, how many hours would you say that you work in your business right now? So you're really successful.
I wouldn't say really successful.
Let's celebrate this. Let's celebrate your success for a second. Like, that's a lot. To celebrate, and own that and be like, you've worked hard. This didn't happen overnight. How long is it 8 years that?
8 years. Yeah, 8 years probably since I first picked up that phone and videoed those bins in my closet until now. And the truth is, it really started taking off after a huge failure. Mm-hmm. So I was making these videos, and I just realized after a couple of years, I think 3 or 4 years, 4 years, I could make money doing it. And so I put some ads on my videos, and I'm like, yoo-hoo! And my channel was called Malatos79 because my nickname as a kid was Malatos, and my birth date's 1979. So Malatos79, I think I was almost to 100,000 subscribers. And one day I got an email from YouTube, and they had taken away my monetization. They had, I was no longer a YouTube partner. They had said it was invalid clicking. So someone was clicking my ads over and over again, probably trying to be kind and earn me extra money, because I had shared about that's how you make money, and it was taken away. So, and they don't give it back. When it's gone, it's gone. So I had built up this YouTube channel, and it was gone. Yeah, devastating. And I cried. I cried hard. And I started a new one the next day. I started a brand new one called Clutterbug, because I had already been talking about the different styles, and I was like, maybe I'm such a clutterbug. Maybe I'll name them different bugs. And so I started this new channel, Clutterbug, and it's, it's like 350,000 followers now. And it's a whole brand in itself that I never would have had I not lost Malatos79. So
huge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but I had to start all over again. It took me like another year to get back, maybe almost 2 years to get back to 100,000. So that's a bummer, right? But now I never would have what I have had I stuck with Malatos79. What the heck is that? you know,
What is
crazy.
that? It's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's
So it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
I love that story. That's my favorite story so far. So yeah, like that, it's because in those moments, it's like you feel that devastation or that failure, and you decided, you could have said, screw it, like done. Like what, forget it. How am I going to get 100,000 followers again? Forget it. And you're like, hell no. Tomorrow, like the next day, you're like, what am I doing? And just picked up, like not picked up where you left off, but built it from the ground up again.
It took a long time. It took a long time. But yeah. It's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's the juicy, vulnerable stuff that I love to hear, because that's relatable. That's going, you know, you didn't just wake up. It's been like 8 years of hard work, and so now you get to celebrate that and be like, yeah, doing good. And so you got a lot on your plate right now too, because you have your YouTube channel, you're podcasting, you do a lot.
Writing my third book, believe it or not. I never thought I would be a writer, but I'm writing my third book. So I learned a lesson with Malotose 79, and that was not keep all your eggs in one basket. So I can't have YouTube be my only revenue source. I needed to diversify my brand. So just coming up with lots of different things, and the podcast has been amazing, and I love it. And I'm doing a course now that's about to launch that people can learn to be an organizing expert. And
Awesome.
just I was on TV for a long time. I was doing like an organizing expert on Marilyn Dennis show. I was always on that. I just, all these cool things that happened when I had to pick myself back up and learn from those mistakes that I had made.
That's awesome. Yes, I'm just taking it all in. I think that's okay, so when's your course due to come out?
Yeah, my course will be launching in September, and it's
Nice.
like an online video course. It's a lot like the YouTube channel, but it's a little more in depth, and they can watch it as they want. And then at the end, you get a certification. So for me, I wanted to be an organizing expert so bad. You know, I was so obsessed with organization. And the course that we have to be an organizing expert is $2,500. So I saved and went without for this course. And when I took it, I was so disappointed. I felt like it didn't give me anything to help me with my business at all. And it was all just, you know, and I didn't want another mom to make that same mistake. So this course is going to be everything real life stuff you need when you're an organizing expert for your own home, and if you wanted to make it a business too, what it's really like to work with clients, and what you really need to know. And it's super affordable, and yeah, I'm really excited about it.
That's awesome. Awesome. So with all of this going on, like, I love self-care. I love going, like, what are you doing for you? So, you know, we can talk about all the, you know, Wonder Woman supermom stuff that you're up to, and it's, you know, building an empire, but how do you practice self-care in the midst of all of this?
Honestly, like, I work a lot less than I ever did. And I think that makes me more productive in the times that I do work. So I probably work 15 to 20 hours a week, tops. And I take breaks when I need breaks. And I spend sometimes I'll spend a week in bed watching Netflix, and I feel kind of like a dink about it. But the truth is, when I get back to work, that's the key, is just going back to the same thing. I'm so much more productive. And so it's all about the working smarter, not harder approach. And just, you know, filling that bucket back up of inspiration whenever it starts getting low. And being consistent. I mean, you can literally move a mountain in 15 minutes a day. And this is what I tell people all the time. That's how I got organized in the first place. I was running a daycare. I didn't have hours to dedicate. I did one drawer or one shelf or one small thing every day. And that's how I grew my business, was just consistent. Well, it's taken 8 years. So, you know what I mean? It's forever. But consistency is the key. It is absolutely the key.
I love that, because I think that's where people get stuck in in cleaning, or, even in their own self-care, they're like, oh God, I need to be doing this, or I need to be doing this. And it's like, I think it's this all or nothing approach that we tend to have with a lot of things. And instead of going, okay, I have this big mountain to move, I go like, well, if I move it a little bit every single day, it's going to move. It's going to eventually be gone. So I love that. I love that idea. And I think that's super applicable. You can apply that to anything that you're about to do. We mentally overwhelm ourselves before we even begin.
Yeah. I see a lot of perfectionists in the world, and they're so talented and they're so amazing, and they're not getting started. And it's a fear of failure, doing something wrong. It's a fear of like, they don't know where to start. And that's my advice, is just go with it, man. Like, my videos were crappy and they were shaky and people were like, I'm gonna vomit. And it didn't matter. And my first book, oh my gosh, it published with like 45 spelling mistakes. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter. It's still a bestseller today, and it's riddled with spelling and grammar mistakes. None of that matters. Just doing it is what matters. Just whatever it is, half-ass it. Just ship it. Throw it out there in the world. If you throw a bunch of stuff on the wall, something's going to stick. Sometimes we get too lost in the details, and then we accomplish nothing at all.
Well, and we're having this big theme, so I'm doing a business boot camp with some members of my tribe community, and this is what we're talking about, is like this action taking, and like you're a great example of that. Going like, yeah, I like this. Okay, so taking action, consistent action, and you're figuring it out as you go. So you're not getting paralyzed in the thought process before even starting. You're like, okay, I'm going to figure this out, and all you're doing is just gathering information and learning and growing and trying to improve on your formula along the way.
Yeah. I'm still a disaster hot mess. My husband cringes because he's such a perfectionist. So when he does something, he does it right. But he's doing one thing for every 1,000 things I'm doing. So like one of those 1,000 things is going to work out, It's probably not the best way. I do need to take more time to a little bit focus on the details, but I've also realized I could hire someone now for that. So I could still be crazy, dreaming high in the sky, and have people in my life to help me not put out a book with 45 spelling mistakes anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. We learn. And like you said, it's still a huge success, that first book. So I think that's awesome. Not surprising either at all. So I like a little surprising. You're so funny. So like, I like to think about themes, like things will come up for me as I'm coming along and going like, I keep butting up against this, or I keep running into this same type of theme. Like, do you notice that in your experience? And if you do, what would you say is a theme that is coming up for you right now as you move forward?
Oh, I'm stuck in this. It's not a positive theme. I'm stuck in this like ostriching thing that I need to get over. So when I get overwhelmed, I do the same thing that I'm telling other people not to do, which is I hide under my blankets and hope that it works out. And I'm seeing this not only in myself, which I do, but I'm seeing this everywhere. So it's on my brain. So obviously this is the universe saying like, Cass, stop doing this. Overwhelmed, like just when you have a lot to do, it can be paralyzing. And so I need to remind myself to go back to that 15-minute a day approach. Like my first book is literally called 15 minutes a day to a clean and clutter-free home, because that's what worked for me in the beginning, and that's still what's going to work for me today. And I lose sight of that sometimes when the tasks get bigger. It's no longer organizing a drawer. Now it's running a business and dealing with licensing and lawyers and blah, blah, blah. But it's still the same 15 minutes, breaking it into chunks. So yeah, that's this theme that I'm seeing in my life, is I need to stick with that and realize, don't get overwhelmed in the big picture details.
Totally. Do you notice the theme comes up when you're like on the verge of something really big coming, or is it just, a cycle for you?
Yeah, it's worse, I think, when something big's coming.
Mm-hmm.
My anxiety gets to an all-time high, and it's probably like subconscious fear of failure or fear of the next step, because as you grow, it's more work that comes on. So, but yeah, I also cycle. So when I do ostrich, as I call it, like when I stick my head in the sand and just hope life just figures itself out, I pull myself out of that, and I do have a new perspective. You know, I'm usually it's because there's a deadline due the next day and I got to get my crap in gear, but whatever it is, I get it done, and I keep showing up and coming back. And so, yeah, it's a crazy cycle of crazy, but it's stuff's getting done. That's all that matters.
Yeah. And I think it's a huge theme around consistency, for you, and like just not giving up. That's because like in order to be successful on YouTube, they are all about consistency, right? Like consistent posting and growing an audience like that. Am I right? Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
totally.
huge having that, showing up at, like you said, 15 minutes every single day. Yeah.
Yeah, everything's about consistency. Cleaning your house is about consistency. So this is the thing that I used to do. Every Saturday it'd be house cleaning day, and it'd be like, rah, we'd all, instead of enjoying our Saturday, we'd clean like crazy people.
Mm-hmm.
And now we clean every single night for 15 minutes. Everybody in the family pitches in, and we mop, and we could do a quick dust, and we clean the bathrooms every day.
Yeah.
And so Saturdays we do nothing. We don't have to. So literally in every area of my life, this little like consistent 15-minute a day thing, it's the answer. It really, really is. Whatever it is that I'm struggling in, if I take that approach, I should take that approach to fitness, Jessica. I know it. I know it's true. Listen, that's for another day. But obviously that is the secret to success in so many areas. Consistency.
Totally. Preach it, sister. I agree. There's absolutely, that's huge. So I like to talk, I think about, so the consistency piece, and then, I want to talk about community a little bit, because that's also my jam. So what does that mean for you? What does community mean to you? And then what do you do in order to try to cultivate community for yourself?
Yeah, so I'm really antisocial. I have a real problem leaving the house, honestly. I get a lot of anxiety in social situations. And so I guess I always thought of myself as like just an introvert who avoids community. But there's a community online too.
Yeah.
And I'm able to reach this group of people and connect with that we all have the same sort of feelings and fears and stresses and the same things we love to do. And they're my family. They're my people, and I've never even met them.
Yeah.
So for me, my community is this online group of amazing fellow clutterbugs. And I'm so grateful for them. I really am. And I genuinely love the community that I'm in. Like, it's like kids, husband, and like my community on online. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Because it's that support, it's that connection, and, they see things and they believe in you sometimes more than you do for yourself sometimes. Right. So that's awesome. And I think that's such a great point. I'm all about live events, as you know, but as long as you're connecting in some way that feels good for you, again, then that's what's most important, as long as you're making that happen. And I mean, we need community. We are hardwired for connection in our life. So it's so important that we figure out something that feels good for us and that we do it right. So awesome. I love that. So like, so outside of your book, of course, but is there a book that you love? Like, do you read, do you listen to audibles, or is there a book that you would say is like your number one favorite book? Or do you have like a motivational quote that you find yourself kind of leaning on every now and then?
Yeah, so I am a self-help book junkie, 100%.
Yeah, me too.
Every time I read one or listen to them in an audiobook, I get, it's like they say, a tool for your toolbox, right? It just, my life improves every single time I read one. even if I only take one small thing from each of those books. So the first self-help book I ever read was Peter Walsh's It's All Too Much, because, you know, I love Peter Walsh. He was that show I watched that changed my life. And then I read Gretchen Rubin's The Happiness Project. And I never really thought of happiness that way. And so that that book was one of the keystones for me that launched my love of self-help. And I love her to this day. I just actually read I love Brene Brown. Everyone loves Brene Brown, but I just read Girl Wash Your Face.
Rachel Hollis, yeah.
Yes, that was such a great book. Every single time I read one, whether it's, you know, The Morning Miracle, it doesn't matter. You always take a small thing that you can use in your own life. And it's all about just, becoming a better person and using their wisdom instead of having to find it out the hard way for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Amazing. Thank you. So if I will put everything in the show notes, but if people want to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
You can go to clutterbug.com and you can see all my videos up there, and I have tons of free printables because, let me tell you, I got to remind you, schedules and to-do lists are not conformity, it's freedom. And so that's a big thing I had to get over. And so there's tons of cleaning checklists and routines that are free on my website. And you can email me at cass@clutterbug.com if you have any questions.
Awesome. I've not taken the quiz. I'll have to do that, figure out what kind of organizing bug I am.
That's too. It's for free on there, and there's a free ebook and lots of cool stuff on the website. So check it out.
Awesome. Can't wait to. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I loved hearing your story and getting a little bit deeper too into this. Oh, that one story about your YouTube channel is incredible. Thank you so much, Cass, for taking the time. I look forward to connecting again with you soon. Okay, chat soon. Bye.